Hello, and welcome back to the blog. This is Interpretive Rants Part 2, and this is 1 Corinthians 14, verse 33 and verse 40. Not verses 33 through 40, because that would be in context, and then it wouldn't be probably on this video. But there is this belief among American, westernized churches of pretty much all types that it is a godly thing to organize, design, plan, structure, control what goes on in the worship services. Even sometimes, depending upon the church, down to even minute details. Making sure you get out in time and all those kind of things. And so basically, I've read a lot of church planning books and church books, and they all, except for, a lot of the mainstream ones, they all say the same things. That this is a godly way to do it. And they all use the same verses to say it, because these are the only verses that they could possibly use. This is the only place in the New Testament where Paul just lines out what public worship and public gatherings should be and how they should be. So this is the only place they could find the verses, and so they take these two verses, and I'll read them. For God is not the author of confusion or disorder, depending on the translation, but of peace, as in all the churches of the saints. That's verse 33. Verse 40, let all things be done decently and in order. And so they take these verses and they kind of conglomerate them together, and they say, see, everything should be done in order, so we have to have an order of worship, and yada, 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 yada. Okay? So that's the argument. But the whole chapter of 1 Corinthians 14 is dealing with tongues and is dealing with a spontaneous, open, participatory meeting. Okay? Let's look up at verse 26. How is it then, brethren? Whenever you come together, each of you has a psalm, has a teaching, has a tongue, has a revelation, has an interpretation. Let all things be done for edification. Going back up to just a couple verses right before 33. For you can all prophesy one by one, that all may learn and all may be encouraged. And the spirits of the prophets are subject to the prophets. In other words, you can each speak. You each have an ability. Everyone in the congregation has the ability to speak one by one the words of God. And the spirit of the prophets are subject to the prophets. Therefore, you don't have to be rude. You can't use "I was in the Holy Spirit" as an excuse to be rude to somebody else. Okay, they were using the gifts of the Spirit to justify why they weren't having the fruit of the Spirit, basically. And so these verses are in context of that. These verses are in context of an open participatory meeting. I'll give even further evidence from 1 Corinthians 14. Verse 23, he's talking about what happens when an unbeliever comes in and everyone's speaking in tongues. He's saying, will they not say that you are out of your mind? Verse 24, but if all prophesy, all, not one great sermon, but if all are prophesying, are speaking truth, what happens with the unbeliever? An unbeliever or an uninformed person comes in and he is convinced and judged by all. And thus the secrets of his heart, verse 25, are revealed. And so falling down on his face, he will worship God and report that God is truly among you. In fact, 1 Corinthians 14 is arguing, more than it does anything else, it's arguing that there should be an open participatory meeting so that all people in the congregation, even the unbeliever, can be edified and things and truth is revealed. And it's really the exact opposite of what happens in most churches on Sunday morning. And so this one really kind of gets me, as you can see. And it's one of my biggest pet peeves. And so there you go. That's part 2. Part 3 will be coming up soon. God bless. Peace.